to when you compare what it feels like to let go, to actually compare it to something that's, sometimes we take for granted. It's letting go is actually easier than you think.
Indeed. How much time do you spend reflecting on your journey?
I try not to reflect on the past. I try to reflect on where I'm going in the short term, and where I'm going next. So I think going back to my past isn't always that helpful, simply because I have gone through that phase of my life where I've reflected on who I am and why I do what I do, and what my biases are and why they've come out. Where I get to now is, well, knowing who I am, why am I looking at this in a certain way? What am I looking at the next couple of weeks or the next few months? And how might I need to show up differently, or how do I need to attack this in a way that's sensible, right? And I'm much more conscious of that these days. Before, I would have gone into situations, and it's funny because I have worked with clients on this, but I still have my own biases and behaviors that I have to manage. But I would have gone into the past, say, well, I'm a bit, it's all in my head. People will come along with me. They know I'm a good communicator. They'll follow me along, right? And it'll all work out. It'll always work out, And my weakness was, going back to my point before around not putting in, the right structures or the detail, is I would give really talented people, almost a license to go and, solve a problem, and not give them a lot of support because I believed in them. And I'd often find that they wouldn't kind of live up to the expectations that I had, and there was a little bit of misalignment, and that led to them letting me down, or letting the situation down. And not every time, not all the time, but I'd notice it from time to time. And it just my biggest learning in that was just being more sensible about planning, with people, and being more specific about the logic and the support that they require, which it might be unique to them. And then being more systematic in my business over time, being clearer about systems that support it, right? And being more deliberate about the things that work, and if they want my support or the business's support, then we've got to row in the same direction. So I was probably a bit loose for a while. But that reflection, it's very much more about, now that I know where I'm going, what have I got to watch out for?
I want to talk a little bit more about self-reflection, because it's something that I see a lot of entrepreneurs don't do enough. Do you use any tools? For instance, I used to do like a lot of journaling to understand myself better, especially when it comes to how to handle my emotions. Mm-hmm. Now it's more like, when I walk the dog, for example. We were talking about that before we started recording. Yeah. Do you block times in your calendar, and do you have any tools?
Oh, look, I block times for different things and investment in myself. I haven't described anything as reflection per se. I mean, I definitely invest in myself, and put time for health and sport, and make sure I'm very clear about not letting those things too often. They sometimes slip, but I try to really manage myself there. But one thing I do that I find very powerful for me when it comes to reflection is I like to have someone else in that process with me where I can. So it's interesting. We have one key arm of our business, which is a business advisory practice. I employ my own advisor.
Yeah.
It's great for me. And the relationship is not just business, it's business and Brad, and the business of Brad, right? So I get the chance to reflect and step back. So each week, before I go into that discussion, I sit down and look at what happened that week, and look at what's going to happen next week. And I have a little look at how well I'm going, and how I rated the week, and why I rated it that way, and why I felt a certain way. And so that habit of doing that regularly for me has been great. Like, it's really kept me very focused, and it's allowed me often. What happens in many cases, particularly if I'm a little bit frustrated or something hasn't kind of gone to plan, which as any entrepreneur listening to this, they know that's pretty regular, right? I get the chance to reframe it. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the best thing I need, is sometimes space to reframe a problem as an opportunity. You know, and say we might let go of someone from the business, you know, and my brain goes, oh, that's so annoying because we've got to rehire, we've got to find someone.
Yeah.
Or do we keep going down that path? Or, you know, and then all the, you know, the stories play out, right? And that reflection chance, or when I get the pause on it, often gives me the ability to say, right, how do I see this as an opportunity to be better? Right? How do I see this as a chance to learn? And that's been difficult. And I've had great mentors and you know, advisors over the years that have really supported me in that, to hold me to account and give me a kick on the bum when I need it.
Yes.
And, you know, that's been, to be fair, really helpful.